Hello, Chris.
Hi there, Helen.
I know we've covered a few things about your work on some previous videos, and many people will already be familiar with your work. But for anyone who may be coming to your website for the first time, it may be helpful for them if you could answer some of the questions they might have.
I'd be happy to do that, yeah.
First of all, you've called your website Spiritual Workshops. Can you explain to people your definition of the word spiritual?
Yes. To me, spiritual means being connected to a life force, a presence, a power, some people might call it an energy that exists everywhere in the universe. In fact, some people might call it the universe. It can go by many names. A lot of people talk about it as a higher power or a higher self or a presence within or light. Some religious people might call it God. It really depends on the terminology and how people interpret that word, because it can have a lot of different meanings. But to me, it is a presence and a power, an invisible presence that not only resides outside of us, it resides within us as well. And I believe that we're all connected to that power. It is a source of everything there is, and I help people to connect with that within themselves as well. Actually, a really good way of explaining what I mean is through a quote from one of my spiritual teachers, really. He's no longer alive, but his name is Ernest Holmes, and he wrote a book called Science of Mind, which is a very beautiful metaphysical book. And he has a quote which says, "I live in the faith that there is a presence and power greater than I am, that nurtures and supports me in ways I could not even imagine. I know that this presence is all-knowing and all-power, and is always right where I am."
Do you have to have a religious faith to follow a spiritual path?
No, not at all. I do make a difference between religion and spirituality, although they're not necessarily exclusive of one another. But religion is following a certain faith, and spirituality is the presence that is in everyone, regardless of whether they have any religious faith, regardless of whether they have any faith at all, because it's a spiritual life force. I actually had to study all religions in my metaphysical training, so I'm very, very familiar with them. And basically, to me, all religions, when you really get down to them, are saying the same thing. But I would agree with something that John Lennon said when he was alive about God and religion. And I'd like to give people that quote because I think it sums things up quite well.
I believe in God, but not as one thing, not as an old man in the sky. I believe that what people call God is something in all of us. I believe that what Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha and all the rest said was right. It's just that the translations have gone wrong.
Chris, your passion is helping people to travel a path of awareness and fulfill their unique purpose, or what you refer to as their soul's purpose. What does that entail?
To me, your soul's purpose is what you've come here to be and to do. I believe that before we actually incarnate into the world, we come with a particular purpose. Now, that purpose could be different for everybody, and I believe that it is true of everyone, regardless of whether they know it or not, that there is a purpose in life and that we have a purpose here to fulfill. Now, a lot of people believe that your soul's purpose is what you do for a living. That is part of it, but it's more what you are, what you're being, because I believe that we are, as Wayne Dyer says, I don't think that it was actually the source of his quote, but he actually says, you're not a human being having a spiritual experience, you are a spiritual being having a human experience. And to me that's very true. So our life purpose can contain what we do for a living, but to me what we do for a living is just a vehicle for us to express more of our spiritual nature. So when we come in with a soul's purpose, we come in with the intention of also learning particular lessons, and life presents lessons and challenges to us a lot of the time, and it's how we learn to deal with that. And when we've got a spiritual perspective, we can actually deal with those challenges in a very positive way than if we didn't have that spiritual essence within us, or we were not aware of it, because I think that the spiritual awareness actually helps us to deal with the things that happen in life, because life is a series of ups and downs. Sometimes things go very well and sometimes they don't appear to, but everything is teaching us in some way. Every single person that comes into our life, every experience, it's all necessary for us to unfold more of our true spiritual nature. So I know I've been said quite a lot about that, but just to sum that up, there's a quote by Oprah Winfrey which I think will help to make it more concise.
I've come to believe that each of us has a personal calling that's as unique as a fingerprint, and that the best way to succeed is to discover what you love and then find a way to offer it to others in the form of service, working hard, and also allowing the energy of the universe to lead you.
What sort of lessons or challenges are related to your soul's purpose?
All sorts of lessons on every level. They could be lessons that come up in relationships, especially our relationship with ourselves. That's incredibly important, because most of us on some level feel unworthy or not good enough, and this is something that is part of our soul's purpose to heal on the planet, not just individually. It's the cause of a lot of problems, not only personal but global. So that would be one of the major things that we're here to do. Another situation may be the work that we do and our potential. And if we're not using our potential, then life will bring up things around that to almost force us to open up to our talents and abilities that we have been given. And I believe that everybody has been given certain qualities and talents and skills that are meant to be used, not only for ourselves but also for the world. And if we're not using them, then life will bring that to our attention in some way or another. We will feel unfulfilled, we may get depressed, we may think that life doesn't have a purpose. It's because we haven't discovered ours, and that's part of what I do, is help people to discover their purpose. Other things that may crop up are challenges with our health, or our faith in ourselves, or the way that we relate to life in general. It may come up in our financial situations, it may come up in our ability to do things in life, our faith and trust and confidence. They're very big things that we might be challenged in. And so every single area of our life is a challenge. So I'm going to give you a quote by Eckhart Tolle, which sums up what we've been saying, because one of the questions that people always ask is, how do you know if what's happening in your life is a lesson or not? And he has the answer to that. Here's the quote.
Life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know this is the experience you need? Because this is the experience you are having at the moment.